We're about to take a very different turn to explore a mystery that I think has grasped the attention of the entire globe. It's now been 19 days since Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 went missing with 239 souls on board. And the theories behind its disappearance, of course, have been bountiful, ranging from conspiratorial to the thoroughly bizarre. But with the latest report that Malaysian authorities have said they can now assume beyond doubt that no one has survived on board the missing flight MH370 after crashing into the South Indian Ocean, hope that some passengers might still be alive is all but gone. The only question that remains is, why did it happen? I'm very lucky to be joined this morning by aviation expert Lyndon Burns on the line. Lyndon, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning. Morning, everyone.
Lyndon, I suppose I have to ask, ultimately, where do we stand at the moment? So many headlines, so many stories flying about. What's the latest?
Well, right now, thankfully, the search parties are out again. The Australians who are coordinating the search and recovery mission were able to stage a number of flights out of Perth earlier today. And there are currently lots of aircraft, and also there's some ships now getting to the search area. And we've just got to wait and hear what they come back with. So far, nothing, although we've had fresh satellite data late yesterday from Airbus Defence and Space in France, which had identified at least 122 items of debris in the search area. But until somebody actually physically retrieves a piece and inspects it and verifies that this is from the lost aircraft, we're still very much in the realms of conjecture and speculation.
At this stage, I know everyone is clinging to the hope that some passengers could still be alive. One of the theories being that the plane was actually hijacked and could be hopefully sitting on an airfield. Can we now dispel that particular story? Do you think hope that any survivors are still alive, is that gone out the window?
Well, I think the notion of having landed somewhere, I think that needs to be dispelled. It's pretty clear that the authorities have got information that perhaps they haven't shared all of it with us yet because they're trying to get it verified. But I think that the Malaysian Prime Minister's remarks a couple of days ago saying that, you know, the aircraft, we should assume it's gone down in the ocean, I think that is signifying and telling everyone, be prepared. We're changing the nature of the mission now from search and rescue to search and recovery. In other words, we don't believe that there's a real chance that there's survivors. We now need to focus on recovering evidence that will tell us what happened, as opposed to looking for the living. If there are people alive, it would be because they'd got onto a life raft. But to survive in those conditions, you're talking about, you know, really hectically bad climate, very cold, very wet, very stormy, the possibility of hypothermia, very large or very big. So, yeah, the likelihood of surviving for 19 days in very cold, very adverse conditions is quite remote.
So now, as you say, the focus now turns to actually figuring out what could have gone wrong in the instance of a crash. And one of the theories that has really gone viral online, certainly, is that one of the tyres might have caught alight in takeoff, thus asphyxiating the pilot and all of the passengers on board. Is this something that has happened before? Is this something that, you know, we're just wondering why this has gained so much traction as a theory?
I read that. I'm familiar with that theory, and you know, having a fire on board an aircraft. Yes, there have been fires on aeroplanes before. That said, you know, there are design requirements in an aircraft to try and prevent or contain fires, and that would include wheel bay fires. I think what's important there on that particular theory is the notion of a fire having taken out the electrics of the electrical power supplied to the aircraft and severing some of the wiring to things like the transponder and perhaps other communications devices. That may well be, and just like it was with the Helderberg, we know there was a fire. What we were never able to conclusively determine is what was the cause of the fire. Well, in this particular case, we know that the aircraft is lost, but right now we don't know why. And even if you know, even if there was a fire, we've still got to determine, was that because something went wrong with the plane or because someone did something to the aircraft. So there are far too many loose ends out there that need to be tied up before anyone can start, definitively explaining what happened. And that's where the two crash recorders, the digital flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, are so crucial, because while the flight data recorder gives you a transcript of the status of all the crucial parts of the aircraft and all the systems over the flight, the cockpit voice recorder, which it's a bit of a misnomer because it doesn't just record the voice, it records every sound in the cockpit, and that would include switches, alerts, sirens, warnings to the pilots, communications, talking between the pilots as well as between the pilots and air traffic control. If you marry those two recordings up, you get a very clear picture of what was going on and why certain decisions would have been taken.
Well, we'll be watching that space very closely. An unbelievable mystery, certainly taking into account that we kind of feel the whole globe is under the watch of satellites. To lose an entire plane is a crazy thought indeed, but our thoughts certainly go out to the families of those affected. And Lyndon, thank you so much for joining us and shedding a little light on what has been a conspiracy second to none.